No Limit Texas Hold'em is the Cadillac of poker.
You don't happen to have $8,000 on you?
Oh, no, we don't use money in heaven.
Comes in pretty handy down here, Bub.
Oh,
You just won $1 million!
You're making a run at it, aren't you? Rolling up a stake and going to Vegas.
Hello and welcome to episode number 1 of When the Chips Are Down podcast. From living in a van playing low stakes cash to battling in Bobby's room in the Bellagio, I am Andrew by King19 Keeper, joined by my co-host and WPG champion Joe Tehan.
The SPR or whatever the kids call it nowadays.
And also my best friend Scott.
We're Mike McDean out here. That's the dream.
Whether you've been at the tables for years or just now dipping your toe into the most complex game on the planet, this podcast should have something for you. What poker player hasn't watched Rounders and Mike McD jet off to Vegas and think, man, I could do that? Well, this podcast is about a guy that did, a guy that is doing, and a guy that wants to do that. So hopefully it'll provide a lot of perspective into what all being a professional poker player is and what that looks like in today's day and age. Okay, so my name is Andrew Keeper, aka by King19. I've been playing poker for about 7 years now. Got into it when I was in college and then played professionally for 3 years in Las Vegas. Went back to a real job for a little while, and now I have started playing professionally once again. Majority of my play is 1-2 and 1-3 deep stack cash games here in Dallas, Texas. I also live in a Chevy passenger van that I built out so home is literally where I park it. Which is usually behind one of the poker rooms.
I'm Joe. I've been playing for 20 years. I think I'm the GOAT. I call myself the GOAT. And some players I play with call me the GOAT. Yeah, I'm about as good as I get, I think. No, I don't know. My story is I moved to Vegas with $5K. I've been playing professionally for years. Never really made money outside of poker in anything. For about 8 or 9, I played very seriously until like 2011. Then about 10 years, I was kind of a retired lazy bum where I played very few hours and I played kind of smaller stakes. Tournaments and cash games and whatnot. And then just recently, it was smaller stakes for me. I guess it was like 5-10, or like, 10-20-ish. But now, like, I'm playing like some of the biggest games again. In Vegas, I'm playing like 100 no limit at the Bellagio. So, yeah, that's been like the last year or so that I've been doing that. So I'm really starting to take poker a lot more seriously again. And I realize it hasn't changed all that much in the past 20 years.
Won a WPT. That might be significant to some people.
Yeah, I won a WPT. I won some other stuff in the past. I don't know what I have in live earnings. Maybe about 5 million in live earnings, they say, but I don't know. I've done well in some tournaments in the past. Yes.
I definitely don't have a WPT. Yeah, my name is Scott. I've been playing poker recreationally probably for the past 15 years. Off and on, and my buddy Andrew took it quite a bit more seriously about five years ago, and ever since then I started to take it more seriously. So I'm just playing on some private sites, some tournaments that the buy-ins aren't too big, max $100, and trying to grow my bankroll, hopefully grow it enough to start to play 1-2 and get up to 2-5. The dream would be to be able to do that part-time Don't know if that's a good idea or not yet. I have gotten very different feedback all over the place, but I just really enjoy the game. I love just interacting with people, and I just think Texas Hold'em is like the coolest game in the world. Like Doyle says, it's the Cadillac of poker, and I tend to agree with Doyle. So that's where we're at right now. Not too good, but I'm trying to get better.
So what's your main goal? Like, is it tournaments? Is it cash games? Or is it just wherever you can make the most money?
Yeah, I think I would like to. That's a great question for a ton of reasons. I see guys like make a decent uh, percentage on cash just because it's not as variance based as tournaments, obviously. But I'm hoping my goal is that when I get a really solid bankroll and I become a decent cash player part time while I still have either a part-time job or a full-time job that are covering the bills at home. I would like to get really good at tournaments because it seems to be where it changes most players' lives, where you bank a huge tournament for, I don't know, close to three figures, and then you kind of just, not that you coast, but that your bankroll is so deep, as long as you don't go crazy, that you can really enjoy playing poker at a stake that you feel comfortable at for a long time. So that's really my goal, is to be able to play at a level that I feel comfortable playing at, and just while bringing in a decent amount of money every year. Like if I bring home 30 to 40K from playing like 2-5 part-time, like that
Would
would
be
be
amazing.
like, that would be amazing. That's all I'd want for poker.
Sure.
Is that doable, do you think?
It's definitely doable. You'll know, like, whatever the game you're playing is, you'll know, or you'll feel like I am good enough to win in this game. Do you, like,
Right.
Andrew, when you play, do you get that feeling sometimes, like some games you're just like, I know I'm better than these people?
Yeah, yeah. Generally, I mean, it's not exactly like the Mike McDermott, like if you can't spot the sucker, but like it's not really so much that. But I mean, just like don't be on your phone, don't be like watching the game or whatever. Just be like paying attention to every hand, whether you're in it or not, and then just watching the hands that play out, and then like if if you can't define if within like the first like hour, like you can't definitely say like I'm like one of the top 3 players at this table for sure, like then you should probably get up.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is, Scott. Like you'll know when you're playing.
I played basketball for quite a while growing up, and I think Andrew could probably testify to this. Like I was really good. Um,
Okay.
so like the feeling that you're talking about, I understand. Like you step in, if it's poker or a sport, and you just know, like after spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes playing with people, like yeah, like I've kind of figured this game out, and like now it's time to really take it by the balls and
Mhm.
do what I need to do with it. So I'm not there in poker. Like I would definitely not say that. Now this private site where we're playing tournaments on, I might not be there, but I do feel that um, I have a pretty big edge against the guys on here, and the buy-ins are anywhere from $45 to 100. So having the bankroll that I have now, with probably a 30% win rate on here, and obviously that can fluctuate, but I'm cashing enough on here to where I'm hoping that I build the bankroll up on here, and then take a few shots, at 1-2 every now and then, to really take some jumps. At least that's kind of my plan going forward, on how to build
Okay.
a bankroll and gain experience.
Yeah, do that. Find a cash game. Because tournaments, it's hard to know how good you really are playing tournaments. It's
yeah,
really
that's
hard.
true.
It's hard to gauge your personal level of skill, because I mean there's so much luck that goes into tournaments. So playing like in a deep cash game, you can learn so many like really important skills that are a lot easier just to like translate over into like a 15 or 20 big blind tournament stack.
Yeah, that
Uh,
that totally makes sense. I do have my goal is to base it. So I told Andrew this before. Like I have a few goals before I would ever consider like quitting my job for a part-time job, and that was like I would have to have a year's worth of savings, like for all my bills saved up, and
okay.
then I would have to be debt free. Um, I would need I would need how much money? 20% of my house needs to be paid off because we got that private mortgage insurance. So we're not too far away from that, but it basically cuts my house payment in half, which my house payment is only $700 at the moment, so cutting that in half would be pretty nice. And then just being healthy and I told Andrew I want about like a year or 2 years worth of evidence from playing tournaments and cash that I could be a winning player, because I feel like that's the really scary part is to, just go on like a really hot run and just run everything up and then not have enough evidence to say like, hey man, like you're actually a winning player over like a long sample size. And then so that those are like my big tickets. Like if I can hit those goals within the next 2 to 3 years, like I think I could step away from my full-time job and maybe work part-time as a barber and then play poker. That's the dream though. We're Mike McDean out here. That's the dream.
Okay, nice. I would say don't do it professionally, Scott.
I've heard that a lot, and
That's all I
I
heard.
yeah, that's all I've heard, and I totally understand that. I think when I say professionally, meaning to where it could be the majority of my income.
Okay.
Um, so for some context, like I don't like if I made 60 grand with all the bills my family has now, like that would be an unbelievable amount of money for me and my family if I took home 60 grand a year. So
Okay.
that's kind of like where my expectations for poker are, is like, if I can pull in that much from poker and have some side work in it and poker not be too stressful, then I would be unbelievably happy with that.
Okay. And
So
what's your level at now? And what's your starting bankroll? What game are you playing?
yeah, my bankroll is probably sitting about $1,000 right now. Not much.
Okay.
That's why I'm playing these private tournaments on Splash. They're about, what do you think, Andrew? 25 people deep usually.
Yeah, usually like 20 to 30.
Yeah,
And they pay out. They don't pay out like 10%. Like they pay out if 25 people reg, like they'll pay out like five. They'll still pay out like 5 people.
yeah. So I'm not a great tournament player by any means. Honestly, it's probably my weakest game in poker. But the guys that I'm playing against really are just having a good time. So it's for me, it's really one of the perfect spots to uh, study and learn a lot, and my mistakes not being that crucial. Where I think I've been doing pretty well cashing. I think, Andrew, haven't I?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have.
So
Okay.
so that's my tournament, and then I am probably e- just above break even or a break even cash player. I think I'm an above break even cash player now. I just really have not been able to test that very much because my bankroll has been so small. I
Sure.
can't, I can't go sit down at the table and really play that well with such a small bankroll.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough.
but I'm a winning on, like, I play on natural 8, and I at 25 NL, and I do pretty well on there. But the live games are so different, and the card room near me is. Would you say it's pretty soft, Andrew?
Yeah, it's like it's like your average your average 1-2-1-3 game. Probably like a little bit better than average, I guess.
Yeah. So
Um,
I think with all of that, I just think that I have a lot to learn, like a ton. I'm subscribed to a poker coaching site, and just trying to get better slowly, and really enjoy the game. I think that is probably the point that I hear the most, is that guys try to go pro with a bunch of like debt, responsibilities, and all I've
Yeah.
heard from people is it causes like a ton of stress, and they end up just hating the game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, when you're too stressed out about like the results,
Mm-hmm.
it's brutal. It's brutal because nobody. First of all, whether you're stressed out about it or not, it's not going to really change them all that much. And and one thing with poker is you don't have as much control over the results as you would think you would or could. You just don't have as much control over the results. And that's a tough pill to swallow, even after, like, for me, I've been doing this for a long time, and you just don't. There's a lot of results you just can't.
Because I've been friends with Andrew so long, like, and we've kind of gone on like the poker journey in our own separate ways, but still stayed in touch through it. Like Pete, do you think you've got like some insights of where do you think I might be as a poker player right now? Because like Joe said, it's really difficult to be able to be critical of yourself, because sometimes you can't be on the outside looking in. So do you have an opinion on that at all?
yeah, no, I think I'd say I'd say I would say you're comfortably beating 1-2 and 1-3 at this point. I mean, it's pretty hard to to once you have like the basic like fundamentals down to not be beating that level, and then and when people are just deviating so far off from what sound strategy. So there are like some pretty wide exploits that in live poker, but I mean, yeah, I mean, as far as like just like fundamental like general strategy goes, yeah, I mean, I'd say like you're beating the game already, even if you
So,
don't have like a sample size to prove it.
Andrew, there's a few things I disagree with, and just like your generalizations. One is like live poker is, people are so bad. Yes and no. I mean, these are still the same people that play online, and well, I mean, maybe not as much, but it is a different game when it comes to like online versus live. But it's somewhat similar in a lot of ways as well, and it's becoming that a lot more similar. But another thing is like it's not easy to beat 1-3 or 1-2.
Right.
It's not like, oh, this is such an easy game, like everyone's beating it. No. If you're winning it to become a winner at any game is like that takes a lot of skills and a lot of like just understanding of what the heck's going on in each hand, or what the heck's going on at the table. But like to translate a 1-3 winner to a 2-5 winner to a 5-10 winner, there's minor adjustments. But yeah, if you're winning at 1-3, you can easily move up to the next level and the next level and win at those levels as well. I think there's winners and there's losers at poker.
Yeah, I think what I've noticed most talking to Andrew, and just going through a few things on some coaching sites, is that especially live, I would actually say I'm a much better player live than I am online for a few intangibles. My people skills are really good, like I've been able, like even going with Andrew, like I've been able to like loosen up tables and just get people to enjoy being there and playing. And that, I think I've realized like I'm pretty good at that. I'm kind of good at seeing like, okay, what kind of player profile is this guy? Is he splashy? Is he tight? If that dude's raising, like I probably should just fold. I probably should just fold queens here. But so I think my instincts are really good. The problem for me that I've noticed is like what you actually said when we first got on here is when you've sometimes it's good knowing that you're a fish at the table, because I will get hot-headed and then start to play like overly aggressive and not stay disciplined, not pay any attention to the math, and then after I'm just like crushing up big, and then just realizing like, okay, like you're getting a little out of control here, Pat. Like you're not Phil Ivey here. Just settle it down there. And
Yeah.
I fluctuate between that, and that gets me in trouble someday. So I'm hoping the deeper I go in understanding the math, that it will actually bring out a controlled portion of my game that is very aggressive, but very aware of the situations I'm in and making disciplined plays.
Yeah, I think like the being who you are at the table and like loosening up a table and whatever, I don't think that's really a skill. I think that's just a good character trait that that everyone should have.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I don't do it. Yeah, I don't do it to like get an edge on people. It's just I really enjoy people, and I like playing the game, and it just kind of happens.
yeah, you're there with other people. You want to be social and you want to like. I mean, we're social creatures. I mean, it's a good way to like interact with people and whatever. So I would keep it at that and don't forget like the bigger picture is like, hey, we're all people. We're here gambling. And that's why like I really get kind of tilted and frustrated by like the internet kids with the sunglasses that don't say a word and that overthink and take too much time, and it's like let's go already. You're gonna shove. I know you're gonna shove. You don't have to wait 50 seconds until you shove. Like, yeah, let's get the shit over with already. Or whatever. It's like, and you don't have to act any certain way, because it's not like oh, he did this with his left hand before he shoved. That's why I'm not gonna call him. No, I'm not gonna call him because I have dog shit. Or I am gonna call him because I have a good hand. It's like it has nothing to do with the timing tells and the other shit. Like, that's all. So that part really is frustrating and things like that. So I do like the fact that that's a general approach that I think is a good approach, is just be friendly and enjoy your experience at the table. Because at the end of the day, win or lose, I mean, yeah, enjoy the experience.
Yeah, I got into the game because I really fell in love with it for so many reasons. So I hope that whatever the journey is like, that I'll be able to hold on to that. I think that, like you said, that's whether I win money or I just get to play for fun. Like that's hopefully going to be the goal.
I think that's what's so appealing about poker, that people don't really think about or talk about. It's like it's just an enjoyable social experience where you get to like get out and socialize and gamble. Gambling's always fun. I mean, people, the thrill of winning money. That's always fun.
There's a tweet by like Joe Ingram that said he's like, man, someday I'd really like to just, I wonder what it's like to just like come into a poker room and money doesn't matter and just like sit down at any cash table and just make everyone scared for their stacks. I wonder what it's like. And when Bill Perkins responded to him, he's like, it's pretty great.
Yeah, it's great. So, yeah, I mean, but I think that's all attitude. That's all attitude. At some point, if you're playing 2-5 or whatever, and you go to a 1-2 game, you can feel that way. Or if you're, let's say it can all be relative at some point,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Like I just played this 1K tournament today, and the 1K tournament's always been pretty big for me because it's always been my own money and everything. And this just like, well, historically there was a time where 1Ks weren't very big when I first started playing, but then when you're not playing big poker anymore, that feels big to you. And I just played it the other day after having a really big loss in the cash game, and I was just like, why am I even here? This doesn't matter to me. And I was certainly playing like it didn't matter. That's probably why I ended up top 5 in chips, but after day one, but sometimes it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. You're either going home early or you're getting first place real quick.
Yeah. No, but I just kind of busted that. I actually was giving it a good run. There were 650 people or something like that. And I had a lot of chips the whole time. And I still had about 600K at 15K big blind. And I went bust with ace king versus eights, blind versus blind. Kind of annoying. But yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk some sports on here and whatnot too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Andrew's a damn good hockey handicapper. I don't know what he does. I don't know what. Yeah, it seems like a 3-year hot streak that he's been on. But yeah, he's really good, really sharp. So.
Yeah, I'm the best hockey handicapper if Joe's the best poker player in the world. So there we go.
We have 2 goats on here. 2 goats.
Yeah, I think it's I remember when Nimi did his vlog with you and JK, and he was like, "All right, I'm here with 2 of the best poker players that I know. One of them, admittedly, so." As far as like hockey and goes, yeah, like just like a 1 minute like background on that and where I got into that mostly. When I came back, I had a very brief stint back in Vegas, in between jobs from starting my contract with Lockheed in Orlando and for a few months, and was and Joe and some other poker peers of mine had gotten pretty heavily into betting some sports big time there, and then and hockey has been my favorite sport for a while now, and so I was looking a little bit more into hockey, different podcasts, and then diving some more into some like analytics and things. I like got more into like the analytical side of things and advanced metrics and Corsi and Fenwick and expected goals for and against and all the different metrics that is hockey tracked in hockey, and there's a lot of different similarities between that and poker as far as like running above and below expectation. There's that in hockey as well, just like there is in every sport, but hockey is like pretty well tracked, and then and it's also not nearly bet as nearly as heavily as something like the NFL, which is probably like the hardest market in the world to beat. And so,
Yeah.
Depending on how many games there are, yeah, usually like 1 to 2 or 3 hours of my days consists of just going through all the games and all the different stats and injuries and goalies and everybody, and just kind of going through the games and making picks, and things are going well. Everything is tracked, and I'm Bike King 19 pretty much on all socials, and everything's tracked in this app called the Action Network app. It's like the number one sports app, sports betting app that you can have, and so you can follow me on there if you want. It's all free and ROI and closing line value, and units and everything is all that's tracked right in the app.
It's pretty impressive to see to watch your picks throughout the year, and I enjoy betting them, and I enjoy the returns. Yeah, it's been well done.
Because it's a pretty low volume sport, like on pretty much on any given night, like the highest bet hockey game is probably still going to see less action than one of like the lower NBA games. And so because it's because it's low volume and the big bets that come in do tend to be on like the more, especially early, do tend to be on the professional side of things. Books are pretty aggressive and as far as like moving lines go. And so these lines will move like 70 cents, 80 cents from like open to close. It's insane. And like you're never going to see that on an NFL game ever. Like but it happens routinely in hockey where yeah, like they'll open a game as like a minus like 120 and then it'll close like minus 200, which is just crazy. So if you can get in there early and pay, so yeah, if you can get in there early and pay like and some people might not understand exactly what we're talking about, but like essentially like if you can get in there earlier, you're paying like 80 cents on the dollar less rake, which is really great.
Yeah, and that's your only that's the only barometer to test pretty much how you're doing as a sports handicapper. Well, I mean, yeah, long run anyways is whether or not you're beating the closing line. I guess and money won, but
I'm hoping you teach. Like, I would like to learn like how some of the betting like works. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I don't understand all of it because I watch so much basketball. I wish I understood it more because I think I would place more bets on basketball games if I could.
Yeah, I mean, I made money off of you, and just your general insight on the playoffs last year, just because you're able to see the game pretty well and just have a high basketball IQ and know matchups and are just able to like unconsciously like just like break down of how games and more importantly like series and stuff is gonna go. So yeah, I definitely think that NBA is tough, but like it's not like we said, like not the toughest. Like it's probably will always belong to the NFL.
Mhm.
But it's also just such a long season, and like hockey, there's so many games, right? And there's still gonna be spots. So I really I really think if you took a little bit more time and kind of looked more into it and got more knowledgeable on the math and numbers and metric sides of things, I think you could yeah, bet basketball profitably.
Yeah, the regular season is so volatile right now for I mean just a number of variables like the way they sit guys, they don't play, like fake injuries.
Have like an interesting hand or something that they wanted to go over
oh, if you got some hands, Andrew, I'll listen to.
here. So playing 1-2 at Poker House in Dallas, we're 450 effective. There's a limp from under the gun. Middle position raises to 15. I like down at red aces on the button, so I 3-bet to 75. And what are your thoughts on that as far as like sizing goes? I just like go bigger in general because it's Texas.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that you're in a live cash game in Texas. If you're making it less than 75, you're just losing money. So I do think that's pretty smart. There's things like this that's really important. It's like, yeah, you're in a cash game in Texas. You have aces. If you think they're gonna call 100, you should have won 100. But at some point, even Texas people fold. But like, I do like going bigger 75 is great. Yes, you have aces, and it's a cash game in Texas, for sure. I do like that sizing.
All right, cool. Good. So then small blind is pretty short. He's only has $90 and he shoves all in. And then the under the gun guy who limped cold calls and then middle position folds. So we're so small blind's all in for 90 and then we're heads up with
Wait, the limper called or the razor that made it the guy that made it 15?
The limper called.
Oh,
the guy who
okay.
made it 15 folded.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So we're heads up, me and him, and then so flops comes 4-4-10 with 2 diamonds, and I have red aces, so I have the ace of diamonds, and under the gun checks. So what would you normally size here with like 285 in the pot?
Well, I mean, when we're betting into a dry side pot, we do want to have like a pretty nutted hand here. We're almost always ahead. I mean, unless he's got tens. The first thing is like, okay, if this guy has me beat, the first thing I say to myself is, if this guy has me beat, am I going to be able to get away from my hand? And the answer is no. Like, I mean, sure, if it goes check, check, or whatever, and now, like, there are ways you can get away from it, but I think you're just not getting enough value. You want to bet your hand. Our hand's too good to not bet and to not get value from. So, yes, I do want to bet it. And now I want to think, what's my best way of sizing? The guy was in for like $3 and then cold called 90. He's probably got some sort of pair. Probably a good pair. Or whatever. Maybe it could be a flush draw or something. But yeah, I would definitely bet something, but $100 maybe. 100, 120, something like that.
Yeah.
We don't need to bet a lot. We don't have to bet a lot. I would probably only bet I'd probably only bet like $80 or $90 again. He's probably only got 2 outs when he is losing, or when he's behind most of the time. He's probably only got 2 outs at most.
Yeah, especially blocking flush draws.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah, I went a little bigger here. I went 150.
Mm-hmm.
And any calls didn't like snap call, but didn't think about it a whole lot. So then the turn is the 2 of diamonds, and he checks again, and we have like 235 back.
Yeah. So even after betting 150 on the flop, I don't love shoving the turn. This is what you sent. I know you said you shoved the turn. I think, my thought process here is we're either way ahead or way behind. And now, like, when we are ahead, our opponent has 2 outs, period, maximum. I mean, I can't think of another hand he could have that doesn't have more than 2 outs. I mean, pretty much, there are no hands he can have that has more than 2 outs when we are ahead. When we're behind, okay, we're probably going to go broke here, which is fine. But I think the best way to get in that remaining $235, even after you bet 150 on the flop, I think the best way to get in the rest of the money, how do we get him to call again with his 2 red 8s or his 2 red 9s or his 2 red jacks or, his king 10 or whatever it may be? Like, I think this is a spot where, okay, I really want to invite him in with his 2 outer, and I'm only going to bet like $80 or $90 on the turn. I would really down bet there because, like I said, he has 2 outs max when we are ahead, and I don't know if we're ahead now. He may have made him a flush. He could have the old queen jack of diamonds, which isn't unlikely.
Sure.
And technically, we could check the turn. Which I don't know. You have 235 back. You already bet 150. You could check the turn. You could check the turn.
Are there 3 diamonds on the board at the
Yeah,
turn?
yeah. So the board is 4, 4, 10, deuce, three diamonds, and I have the ace of diamonds.
Yeah, with having the ace of diamonds there, I feel like a check is really, it's just a good spot, you know, like Joe's saying, like if a diamond comes, like that's great right there. I mean, you're not. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would
Joe's right.
I think I would check the turn, or just I mean, if you bet like 40 or $50, he shoves, you still gotta call. It sucks. I don't think I would even put in the 235, to be honest. I mean, what else we gotta give the guy credit for something.
Yeah.
So it seems like to me he's got the old queen jack of diamonds, and you're in bad shape here. So I don't even think I would bet the turn. Now that I think more about this hand, and I really don't even know the result, but I would not be betting the turn, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, no, all that makes sense.
So what happened?
So I just shoved for 235, and he folded.
Oh. I didn't even know the result.
Yeah, it was.
Damn. 235. How much was in the pot? 150. Yeah, but we're not afraid of giving him a free card.
No, there's almost 600 in the pot. Yeah, pot's 585 with 235 back. So that, I think that was like a really good point of like why I think this is a good hand of like, as far as like, specifically like value targeting like your opponent's range. This is something Andrew Bogus talks about a lot. Versus just like quote unquote like the standard play, like, clearly like shoving like the turn with like 0.3 SPR with aces there is fine. Like it's, no problem. And as far as like just like basic theory goes, but when you really like break it down into like, okay, like what do I want this guy to call me with, and how am I going to make the most money from this hand? Yeah, then your decisions and sizing changes, and it's not just like, oh well, I have aces, I should, and the pot's really big, so I should shove. Like it's not. There's a lot more nuances and stuff like they can go into that, into making more money.
Yeah, and like every one of these decisions, every single one of these decisions, it's like they all affect, how much money you're making in the game and how much you're losing, whatever.
Did Andrew tell you about the nuts, the missing value on the nuts the other day?
No.
Peep, you gotta tell him. You gotta tell him.
It
was his welcome to Texas moment.
Yeah, so just like I mean, Joe already knows because he's played in Austin. But yeah, like I had like A7. I ended up having like A7 on this, and the board was like king, queen, jack 10. And so I think like and we were like multi-way at first, and then like the turn obviously goes 4 to Broadway, and I have A7, so I have the nuts and no flush draws, and so I bet like so I bet like half pot, and this chick raises me, and we're heads up, and I'm like, okay, fine, I call, and then river's a brick, and so I bet I like lead out again for like half pot, just whatever, and she raises it again, and I was like, okay, like obviously like we're chopping here.
Chop it
Like,
up.
it's just another ace, so like I'm not gonna like do like the whole 3-bet, 4-bet, all in call. All right, take your money back, thing for the dealer. So I was like, whatever, I just call, and she has king queen.
Probably.
She was like, oh man, unlucky.
Ugh.
And then the guy next to me was kneeling me about it. He's like, dude, remember when you had the nuts and misvalue?
Yeah, what are you doing? Why didn't you raise her again?
Even in Texas, like people have a pain threshold. Like you hear this all the time in low stakes cash of like, oh well, I can't beat these guys. They just call with anything. It's like, well, are they calling anything with any size? Then then that's the easiest game. If they're calling all in with like anything for any size, then that's the easiest game in the world to beat. Just shove the top 15% of hands in print. And this is something that we do on the private site with the tournaments, is just going like way larger than anybody else, any solver or whatever would have you going, just because, well, if they're going to call, what's the biggest size that they are going to call, like when do they start folding? Because you can go 5 ways to the flop with ace king, but you don't really want to. So like what's the size that will start folding out some of those hands? Like what's the biggest size that these hands are going to call? And just and keep going up until you find it.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true. Who said that?
Brocus talks some about like just like finding people's pain threats.
I've just always been so impressed with Andrew's like ability to like do math on the fly. Like the guy is like, he is such a brain, man. Like if it's hockey, if it's poker math, like I just feel like you're a computer sitting at the table sometimes. It's pretty impressive. Before I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, I think I got the best hand. Andrew's like, well, actually, square divided by 2 plus this, like you shouldn't call. Just check.
it's all
Yeah.
pretty simple math. It just becomes like getting used to calculating it and stuff, but it's all like pretty basic, like addition, subtraction, and multiplication stuff, and then dividing that into converting, and then if you just memorizing, like, okay, like what is this in terms of pot odds, and then what's my break even percentage. It can all sound like pretty like intimidating, but I mean, once you once you do it enough times, it's it starts to become pretty natural, I guess.
I always had fun at the poker table, but it wasn't fun like with the results today.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been real fun with the results here in Texas so far.
Really?
Yeah, not great. I mean, I'm not like down like infinite or anything. Like I've only played like, it's only been like 73 hours, I think, and I'm down like 1100. And that's
Oh.
total. That's including rake and memberships and stuff. So, but yeah, no, just yeah, like haven't run like hot, like, or well in like big spots. Like yesterday had like won't go. We've done more than enough hands, but like had like queen of diamonds on jack 10 of X of diamonds, 2 diamonds on the flop, but flop open ended royal, and goes raise 3-bet all in on the flop, so we get it in. It's like a $1,200 pot, and guy just has like queens and holds, and then
Yeah.
had like aces and like a $800 pot. Had aces all in on king queen deuce 10, no, king queen 10-5 on the turn. No flush draws available. Guy just has queen 2, calls off, second pair 2 kicker, hits a deuce on the river, you know.
Jeez.
So just stuff like that, and my transmission went out in my van and had to replace that, and so yes, but as far as like but everything else aside from money, everything else has been going great. I mean, and hockey's been good too. So as I haven't been on like on a crazy heater or anything. in hockey lately, but it's been profitable week in and week out so far. So that's been good. And then the rest of Texas is amazing. Like I really love it here. Just the driving here and the culture, and like there's just more restaurants and things to do and places to go than you could think about, and it's just like a ton of people. Everyone's pretty friendly. Started playing pickleball because that's like a national sport here, and it's it's really good. I really enjoy it. Oh, and I don't know if I don't think I've mentioned this on the podcast, but yeah, as far as my van goes, yeah, that's where I live. So I built out the van and live full time out of that. So most people listening to this probably know that, but if you don't, now they do.
I'll wrap it up this week. Or I'm gonna wrap it up for me
Yeah,
anyways.
Sounds cool.
All right, guys.
All right, man.
Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Joe.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I'll see ya.
All right, later.
Okay, so thanks for hanging out, person, or hopefully there are persons out there listening to this. We'll get better at this as we go throughout the year. Hopefully, just rate, review, give us 5 stars, email us with any feedback. Good or bad, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to whenthechipsardownpodcast at gmail.com. You can send in your own hand or questions about poker. We talk to each other pretty much every day already, so the whole reason that we're doing this is to provide value to others in this space. So please, if you have any thoughts or questions you might have, let us know and we'll get to them. Keep grinding, guys.